Hey there, my name is Kelly Dowel, and I'm owner of Off the Beaded Path located in Forest City, North Carolina. For today's video, I'm going to be teaching you how to do Russian spiral stitch. And this is a variation. There are many ways that you can do Russian spiral, but today's variation, what I'll be using is a size 11 seed bead. Don't use a delicate, just use a regular size 11 seed bead. Then you're going to need either 2 to 3 colors of 4mm beads. Now these can be fire polish beads, they can be bicone beads, they can be pearls, gemstones, whatever you want them to be, just a 4mm bead. Now the other thing is, like for the project that I'm going to do for the sample, is I'm going to use actually 2 colors. I'm going to have 2 rows of one color and 1 row of another. And you'll understand more when you actually see the project. But you'll need 2 to 3 colors depending on the outlook or the outcome you want the bracelet to have or the necklace. You're also going to need a size 12 beading needle. You can use either 6-pound or 8-pound Fireline for the project. For mine today, because what I've got here at the house, I'll just be using a 6-pound. And then you're also going to need a wooden dowel, a little thinner than the diameter of a pencil. Just a regular lead pencil, just a little smaller than that. So that's what you'll need. And as far as the quantity of your 4mm and your size 11s, all I can tell you is it's going to depend on what project you choose to do. I'm basically going to be teaching you the technique today, and then it will depend on if you decide to do it as a necklace or a bracelet as to how many beads you're going to actually need. So just get your materials together. We'll get started. This week I'll show you actually how to do the stitch. Next week I will show you how to put the ends on. Russian spiral stitch, even though it's a quick and it's a very simple stitch once you get the hang of it, I hate monotony. I think it's monotony or whatever, or no, that's a relationship. Anyways, where you do the same thing over and over and over again, and it just drives me crazy. So what I have to do for Russian spiral stitch is I have to actually do a little bit, stop, and come back to it. That's just how I have to do. If you feel comfortable with sitting down for hours working on this project, please do. Otherwise, you may want to do like I do. You may have to take some breaks, come back to it. But that way, it'll give you a whole week to decide whether you want to do a necklace or a bracelet, and then we'll be able to actually finish it off next week. So I hope you guys enjoy this project and get your materials together, and we'll get started. Alright, so when you're ready to start, the first thing you want is your actual wooden dowel. Now I have laid a standard size ink pen and a pencil right next to them so that you can see the difference in the sizing of the wooden dowel that you need. So it's a very small dowel. This is a thin pencil, and it's about the same size actually as the pencil, just a little bit smaller. I'm sorry, I don't know the size right now. I'll try to find out for you actually, and we'll put that in the materials list. But that's the first thing you need, is that wooden dowel, because you're actually going to work off of the dowel today. Then the other thing that you'll need, like I said, are your 4mm. Now today I'm going to be using 2 colors. My crystal that I'm going to be using is a Preciosa crystal, and it is a 4mm crystal Labrador that only has a half coat to it. So that means one side is metallic silver, one side is just plain. The other bead that I'm going to be using is a 4mm just faceted glass jet round. And then I'm going to be using a size 11 jet seed bead. And so to get started, you actually want to thread your needle with a comfortable length of thread. So I've put about 3 yards on mine. You will have to add thread depending on the project that you choose. So just make sure that you have enough thread to work with that you feel comfortable with. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pick up 3 size 11 seed beads. And I'm going to call this my A, and I'm going to call this my B, okay? So I'm going to pick up 3 size 11s, an A, 3 size 11s, an A, 3 size 11s, and a B. Okay, now if you are going to use 3 colors, you want to name them A, B, and C. So that case being, I would have picked up, my first bead would have been A, my second bead would have been B, and my third bead would have been C. But in my case, since I'm just going to use the 2 beads, I've got A and B. Okay? Now, this will be your very first row. And what you want to do is you want to slide these beads down and leave yourself a long enough tail that we can go back and add the clasp. So about 12 to 14 inches. And what you'll do is take these beads and tie them into a circle. Now when you tie them into a circle, be careful not to get any of the seed beads actually caught up in the circle. So we just want a circle just like that. Now I go ahead and I'm going to put 2 or 3 good knots in here. Alright, and to get started, to get into position for the first or the second row, I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to go through the first seed bead right next to the knot. Okay, so just that one seed. And I'm going to pull that through. Now, here's where our wooden dowel comes in. Okay, I'm going to take and I'm going to thread this onto my dowel. Now, when you actually go hunting for a dowel, if you have a thin enough pencil that'll work, fantastic. You know, you'll just want to check if your beads slide on and off of it pretty easily. But the biggest thing when you go to buy these dowels, they're going to come in long 36-inch pieces, and then you can cut them down into shorter pieces. I would try, if you have a like a mom and pop hardware store in your town, try them first before you go to a big box chain store, please. You know, help out local business. So I've got my first round onto my dowel. And what I'm going to pick up, I'm coming out of that first seed, is I'm going to pick up an A and 3 size 11 seed beads. My thread is coming out in this direction, so I'm going to come to the very next A here. That would be my first A that I threaded on, and I'm going to come through the seed bead right after the A, just the one seed bead. So my thread is coming out of the size 11 right next to the knot. I'm going to come to the very next seed bead right after the first A that I threaded on. And I'm going to pull that. Now, when you pull, be careful not to get your thread caught around the dowel, so that when you pull it, it's going to lay exactly like this. Okay, I'm going to turn the dowel a little bit here, and if it helps, you can take this tail and wrap it around the mandrel and tape it, so that way you don't have to deal with the tail. But I'm going to pick up an A and 3 11s. Okay, I'm going to come to the next A and go through the seed bead right after the A. So I'm going through just the one seed. So my thread is coming out the seed after my first A, and I'm going to come through the seed right after my second A. And pull. Okay, so it lays just like that. Alright, so now my next bead in my circle is a B, so I'm going to pick up a B and 3 A's. The thread is coming out of the seed bead right after my second A. So I picked up my beads, and I'm going to come through the one seed bead right after the B. That's going to be the one I started with. So I'm just going to go through that one bead and pull that on through. So that now you have your 2 A's and your B on the round. Now to step up, I'm going to come through the first 2 beads of the new round, which will be an A and a size 11 seed bead. So I'm going to come up through the A and the 11, just like this. I'm going to pull that on through. And you will notice as you work around, each time you step up, you'll be stepping up at a different point. So see, originally we started here right after the 11, or right after the B. So now I stepped up through an A and a size 11. So the next bead I'm going to pick up is my A. Because see, I'm right here. My beads are going to come in a diagonal, and you will be able to see how they are. So I'm going to pick up an A and 3 size 11s. Okay, I'm going to come to the very next big bead, and I'm going to go through the seed bead right after it. Okay, and you can already see my beads going at a diagonal now, and that's exactly what you want. Now, the next bead that I'm going to pick up here, in my diagonal, is a glass bead. So that's my B. So I'm going to pick up a B and 3 11s. I'm going to go to the B, and I'm going to go through the seed bead right after it. I'm going to go through that 1 bead right after it and pull. And again, you can see that diagonal forming, and that's exactly what you want. Okay, so the next bead in my spiral is an A. So I'm going to pick up an A and 3 11s. Okay, I'm going to come to the seed bead right after my A, which I've only got that 1 there because that's the one I started with, and I'm going to stick my needle through that 1 seed bead. So the 1 seed bead right after the A. Okay, so now I have 3 A's, 3 A's, and 3 B's. And I'm ready to step up because I can't go anywhere else. I'm coming out of that last size 11 for that round. So I'm going to step up through the A and the first size 11. Okay, so now you can see as my rows progress, I'm working more around the circle when I actually step up. So the next bead in my spiral is a B. So I'm going to pick up a B and 3 11s. I'm going to come to the size 11 right after the B, and I'm going to go through that 1 bead and pull it through. Okay, and that's exactly what you want. Okay, the next bead in my spiral is an A. So I'm going to pick up an A and 3 11s. I'm going to come to the size 11 right after my A, and I'm going to go through that 1 bead. So that when I pull, it's in position. Okay, the next bead in my spiral is an A. So I'm going to pick up an A and 3 11s. Okay, I'm going to come to the seed bead right after the A, which is just 1. So I'm going to stick my needle through that 1 bead there right after the 11, or right after the A. It's the one between the A and the B. And pull. Now when you get to that point, that's when you know that you have to step up after each round. So what that means is to step up, I'm going to come through the B and the size 11 right after it. So each time you actually step up at the end of the row, you're going through 2 beads. Alright, so we're ready to start the next row. So the next bead in my spiral is this A. So I'm going to pick up an A and 3 11s. I'm going to come to the seed bead right after the A, and I'm going to go through that 1 seed right after the A and pull. Okay, the next bead in my spiral is an A, so I'm going to pick up an A and 3 11s. I'm going to come to the seed bead right after the A, and I'm going to go through just the 1 seed bead. And then the next bead in my spiral is a B. So I'm going to pick up a B and 3 11s. I'm going to come to the 11 right after the B, which will just be the 1. That's when I know it's time to step up. So I'm going to go through the 1. And then to step up, I'm going to go through the the A and the 1 seed bead right after it. So as you can tell, you already have a nice spiral going. I wanted more silver in my bracelet than I did black. Now remember, if you're doing 3 colors, my spiral would be black, silver, and whatever other color I wanted, okay? So what you'll do with this piece is you're going to continue adding your beads and stepping up until you have the length of whatever you're going to make, whether it be a necklace or a bracelet. So I'm going to go through this last row showing you one more time how to add your beads, and then I'm actually going to start another one so you can see how to start it again. Okay, so the next bead in my spiral here is an A. So I'm going to pick up an A and 3 11s. I'm going to come to the seed bead right after the A, and I'm going to go through the 1 seed bead and pull that through. Okay, so that puts that new bead there in position. The next bead in my spiral is a black, which is my B, so I'm going to pick up a black 4mm jet and 3 size 11s. Okay, I'm going to come to the size 11 right after the 4mm black, and I'm going to go through the 1 seed bead. Pull that nice and tight there. Going to come to the next bead. Okay, that's going to be an A, so I'm going to pick up an A and 3 11s. I'm going to come to the seed bead right after the A, which is just that 1. So I'm going to go through that one. Then I'm ready to step up. So I'm going to step up through the A and the size 11 right after it. So just remember, at the end of every row, we step up for the next row. Now as you work, you can just keep sliding your piece down, and that way you'll have plenty of room on your dowel to make whatever piece it is that you want. So I'm going to turn it off for just a second, thread me on a new needle so that you can see how to start it one more time. Alright, this time I'm going to use all the same color. I'm going to use all color A so that you can see and maybe understand it with one color also. So again, I've got 3 11s, a 4mm, 3 11s, a 4mm, and 3 11s and a 4mm. That's what we're going to start out with. That's our initial circle. We want to tie those into a circle and be sure and leave yourself a long enough tail to add the clasp. This is just a sample, so I'm not going to be leaving that much. Okay, to get into position, I'm going to go through the 1 seed bead right after the knot. So now that you've got that, you want to put that onto your wooden dowel, and you're ready to start. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up a 4mm and 3 11s. I'm going to come to my next bead, and I'm going to go through the size 11 seed bead right after the next bead. See, the direction of the thread is coming in this direction, so I've got to go that way around the dowel. So go to the next 4mm, go through the bead, size 11 seed bead right after it. Okay, so just through that one there and pull. Pick up a 4mm, 3 11s. Go to the next 4mm in the circle and go through the size 11 right after it. And then one more time, pick up a 4mm, 3 11s. Okay, go through the size 11 seed bead right after that 4mm, so that'll just be that one hanging out there. So I'm going to go through it. Okay, and now I'm ready to step up. So I'm going to come through the 4mm and the one size 11 right after it. So through the 4 and then the size 11. Okay, and then I'm actually going to start. If you do one color, you don't have to worry about keeping up with what you need to be doing as far as your colors. You're always going to be picking up the same one. So I'm going to pick up a 4mm and 3 11s. I'm going to come to the seed bead right after the next 4mm and go through that one bead and pull. I'm going to pick up a 4mm, 3 11s. I'm going to come through the seed bead right after the 4mm, just that one, and pull. And then a 4mm, 3 11s. I'm going to go through the size 11 right after the 4mm, which is going to be just that one. So I'm going to go through there, and then I know it's time to step up, so I'm going to come through the 4mm and the size 11 seed right after it. Just like that. So you can already see your spiral has started with your beads, and you'll just continue that until you reach the length of whatever it is you want. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope that you learned how to do Russian spiral stitch. Like I said, be sure this week and try and work and get your actual necklace or bracelet finished, and then next week I will show you how to put your ends onto the Russian spiral. Now, I want to take a quick moment. Everybody always asks. The earrings that I have on today are the Monty Ecliptic earrings that we have on our Etsy page, which you can find the address right below me here. The bracelet I have on is the Belle of the Ball pattern from our Etsy site, and the ring that I have on today is actually a ring that I'm going to be teaching you guys in 2 weeks. So next week will be the finishing for the Russian spiral, and the week after will be the ring that I have on. I want to give a quick shout out and a big hello to Sharon from Lenore, North Carolina. She was nice enough to drive down to the store this past week. So Sharon, thank you for coming to the shop. I hope that you enjoyed it, and thank you for your support in the videos. And also I want to say a big hello to Sama from Canada. She actually called me last week all the way from Canada just to tell me how much she enjoyed my videos. So Sama, thank you so much for giving me a call. It always blesses my heart to know that people enjoy the videos and that you guys you know, are learning stuff. And people always say, I bet you get tired of people calling, but I never do, because I love to hear how much you guys enjoy the videos. So I hope that you guys have a great week, and we'll see you again next week for another new beading video. Bye bye.